Good morning. It's day 11 at over Phawhope, Bothy. Didn't get any visitors last night. Didn't sleep that great. I don't know that I can sleep that great in Bothy. It's just throwing down your sleeping bag on a hard wooden bench and saying go. I don't know. It hasn't clicked for me. It was quiet. It was peaceful. I'll give it that. Today the plan is a hike as close to 20 miles as I can get. It might be more like 18, but I'm going to try to set myself up for success doing 20. As I want tomorrow's day into Galashiels to be as short as possible. So if I did 20 today, I'd have, I think, 16 into Galashiels. And that is something I want to do. So it's 10 miles today to St. Mary's Loch, where there's a cafe. And I'm going to have a big lunch there and also grab a little bit extra to take with me for breakfast. I wasn't able to find anything really good for breakfast in my resupply at Moffat. The shop that was next to my hotel was kind of small. And the one thing they didn't seem to have was like breakfast items like oatmeal and stuff. And I'd meant to look further into it and see if there were other shops or find some other options, but I never quite got around to doing that. So I find myself kind of undersupplied in food between here and Galashiels, which is not a disaster, but it's not a good thing if you're trying to push bigger miles. So my plan today is to have a giant cup of coffee, get my feet doctored, which I just did. Then the day will start with about 5 or 6 miles of road walk, which I'm fine with, to be honest. It's a good way to start the day where the pace is fast and you're not getting soaked and you're not getting muddy. After those 6 miles, I turn up and follow a path over the hills. No idea what the quality will be, but we are on the Southern Upland Way, so that leads me to think it's not going to be great. Then it descends down to St. Mary's Loch. By the time I get there, that's going to be about 10 miles, halfway through the day, let's say. Again, stuff my face, get some extra food if I can, even if it's hopefully something that's not perishable, because I'm intending to have it for breakfast the next day. And then hike out and get as far as I can before wild camping. There isn't anything that looks great in terms of wild camping. There's a couple of places where, it's clear and nobody's around. But the question always is it even physically possible to put a tent down? Is it all a bunch of lumpy tussock grass or something, or heather? So I'll hike another 5 miles, let's say, after St. Mary's Loch. And actually probably more like 7. And at that point, what I want to do is find a place to make dinner, because I don't want to make dinner where I wild camp. Because if I'm just putting down in the grass, where's my stove going? I like to have a good solid thing to put my stove on. So I'm going to look for something near a water source that has maybe a bench. There's lots of benches on the Southern Upland Way. Every few miles, you'll just see a bench, at a nice view. Or even if it's on the side of a farm track. Anything that's a solid place to put down a stove, have my dinner there, pack up, and then hike out to wild camp. The last part of the day goes up through a forest plantation, and one place I looked at was at the edge of the forest plantation where there's a fence and it transitions back to fields, somewhere in there. That point would be about 18 miles. So anywhere in that kind of zone would be good. If I leave here by 6:30, I'm giving myself a good timeline to make that stuff happen. Goodbye over Phawhope, Bothy. Let's get walking. Accompanied by birdsong and gray, moody skies. I do like the cool temperature, I gotta say, but I wouldn't complain if it weren't just a uniform gray overcast. It seems like the extremes are what's happened on this trip. It's either sunny and blazing or it's gray and moody. It makes me want to listen to Belle and Sebastian. Yeah, let's walk. It's 6:25. As I walk down this road and wake myself up, I'm going to keep checking my phone to see if I can get some definitive information on what's going on, touch base with people, let them know I'm still alive, and all those things. If I had to guess, I would say that's Ettrick water, since this is the Ettrick Valley. Uninspiring but easy hiking to start the day. I'll take it. This is Potburn Farm. This must be Potburn. It says in the guidebook that it's abandoned, but it looks like there's been new construction. Like somebody built a house onto an existing building. But it also looks like somebody's given up on that new construction. This doesn't have an in-progress feel anymore. It has a feeling of like gave up and stopped doing it. Interesting. You are a long ways out here. This would be a tough place to live. And if you had it as just a vacation home, like how would you maintain something? I would gather that a place out here would require a lot of maintenance just to keep from falling apart. Good view back up valley to over Phawhope Bothy right there in the center. Gives you an idea how isolated this place is. Wondering about these deer fences. There's some down there as well. Somebody put an awful lot of effort into putting these up for reasons that aren't entirely apparent. Holy overbuilt gates, Batman. What are they trying to keep out here? Access to driving an unauthorized motor vehicle. Huh. So this is not an open road to the public. You have to have a key to get in. That's good, because otherwise that place would be trashed if anyone could drive into it. But wow, is that an overbuilt gate? Good God. Okay. I mean, if you've got the money, spend it, but holy cow. I have a joke for you. What is a sheep's favorite brass instrument? The tuba. Yeah. Did I mention this day is starting with 6 miles of road walk? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I've learned to be more at peace with road walks on the site, because when I'm on a road walk, I know what I'm getting. I know my pace is going to be quick, and I know the hiking will be relatively easy. The trails I have some PTSD with. Every time I see a trail segment on the map, I'm like, oh God, what's it going to be like this time? And sometimes, very rarely, it's actually in good shape and I can enjoy it. And other times it's a boggy whatnot. There is an alternate to this morning. It's not an official alternate where they show it on the map. It's just something that's described as, hey, you can do this if you want to. Back there by Potburn Farm, there's a road that went up, and you'd get onto the tops, the high hills, and just do a ridge route following a fence. And that eventually joins this route when this route climbs over the hills to St. Mary's Loch. Thing is, it adds, I think, 550 meters of climbing. No thank you. That's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 feet. And it adds about an hour and a half of time. So I'm interested in neither of those things. If it were maybe a little bit nicer, and if I had someone with me to share the misery, and if I weren't trying to make a certain number of miles, I'd give that a shot. But with a tight schedule, I don't know how you include that. This really is a lovely, peaceful dale. It's nothing that people would drive across the country to see, but it has a small, humble beauty. Okay, I've reached the part where I leave the lane after a little more than 6 miles, and it says 4.5 miles to St. Mary's Loch there and 5 miles there. So something like that. And yeah, nothing really to say else, just climb. Well, initially this was an extremely steep route right off the road, going straight up through a sheep pasture. After about 10 minutes though, it hit this traversing climb. It's grassy, not boggy, following a pretty creek, filled with birdsong. So I can do this. All right, I've come from there, up that canyon, and it comes to a low pass with streams that drain down towards Loch St. Mary. And it looks like what I'm going to be doing, rather than heading right down this drainage, is kind of traversing on this hillside. At some point I drop down into the low part, climb up out the other side, and then start descending to the loch. It was drizzling for a couple hours this morning as I walked down the road, and continued as I started up the canyon. That seems to have stopped for now, which is good. However, walking through this long grass, I am completely sodden from, I'd say, the thighs down. Because it doesn't get super cold here, it's not an issue in terms of like hypothermia. It's actually kind of refreshing when I'm hiking up the hill. It acts like a little air conditioner. If it's, well, I'm not going to get dry until I'm out of the grass, basically. So I'll be wet all the way down to the lake, probably. Looks like that high alternate route would have reconnected right about here, and that would not have been fun. Just bushwhacking through long, uneven grass. No easy tread to walk on. I'm a little confused here because the path is diverging and each path has a trail sign. So I'm not entirely clear on what's supposed to be happening here. So I'm gonna come up here and look for additional trail signs. See if I can see anything. Nothing in that direction. Nothing in that direction. See, this is one of those check your map times. All right. All right, in the distance is St. Mary's Loch, but instead of following this drainage down, I have to go down to this, past this abandoned farm to a footbridge there in the center, then up a trail just to the left of that gully till it levels out, and then go behind this hill, and there's another drainage going down in the same direction. I don't know why, but that's what it's doing. Lovely little spot here. Would certainly make a nice wild camp if you didn't mind the midges too much. Now for this brief climb out of here and down to the loch after that. All right, some unfortunate news. The cafe that I was planning to stop at and have lunch and pick up a little more food for tomorrow is, of course, closed on Tuesdays. Huzzah. There's also an inn down at that location, but I can't find good information on
when or if it's open, and if it's open, if it has any food. So kind of hoping on that. If not, well, eat the rest of the snacks I have dinner tonight, and try to figure out what in the world I'm doing for tomorrow. I may have to, halfway through the day tomorrow, go off trail a little bit to get to Innerleithen, which is a little town with food and such. That would add mileage to my day and slow down my arrival to Galashiels, but can't do a 16-mile day with no food. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an unwanted complication. But stuff like that's going to happen on a trip of this length. All right, things are looking grim on the food front. The Tibby Shields Inn still exists, has been closed as a commercial enterprise for a long time. And the only time it's still open is if someone rents out the whole thing for like a wedding or something like that. So when they have a website with reviews, that's primarily what it's talking about. There's also a lot of people camped. So I think that has to do with the St. Mary's Loch Sailing Club. Yeah, not terribly sure how that works. But I'm going to be continuing around the loch eventually. Like this, and then make myself dinner somewhere around there, and then camp somewhere up here. Tomorrow what I'm going to have to do, since I won't have any food, is hike down here to Traquair and either walk 1.5 miles in Innerleithen or call a taxi, and I'm leaning towards calling a taxi because that would add 3 miles to my day, and I don't want to add 3 miles to a day going into town. So just like going Innerleithen real fast, get a lot of food, and then get back to the trail. So yeah, just bad luck that cafe was not open today. That would have solved a lot of problems. In the meantime, I'm going to eat everything I have right now except my dinner, which I'll eat later, and that will leave me no food for tomorrow.
A few moments later.
My plan has evolved. Since there's no food anywhere around here, and I've eaten the last of my snacks, and all I have is one measly dinner left, what I'm going to do is just hike. It's not even noon yet. It's like 11, and just hike and hike and hike. And when I get up here, I'm going to look at the time, I'm going to look at how I feel and everything else. If I can get down to the road right there, then I can call a taxi to get me into Innerleithen and then get dropped off there tomorrow, and I'll still have a shorter day to Galashiels. It's just a question of whether I can get myself there, because that's going to be more than 20 miles, I think. But it's early, and I'm not feeling too terrible. Considering all I've had is some tangy chew candies and a bag of some kind of British chips. So yeah, that sounds like a recipe for success. Let's make this happen. Nothing I can complain about right now. Beautiful Scottish Loch, beautiful countryside, and a perfect trail. When I turned off the road into this field, it said route readjustment, follow the waymarking. And they walk into the field and there's no waymarks at all. But I do see a trail sign on the far corner, and the path seems to be leading there. Path in air quotes. All right, just topped off my water at the last place I'll see water for a little bit. I need to climb up and out of this forest and onto the open moors. By the time I get to Blakemore, I'll be heading more downhill. And it looks like when I get to Kirkstone on the road, it's going to be 22. Here or there. I'm at 17.4 right now, but it is still pretty early. So I'm not in a hurry to do the miles. I just need to do them. Especially this part, I don't need to be in a hurry. 19 and a half miles in. Got to go over Blake Muir, which is that thing in front of me. And then starting the descent after that down towards the road. And once I'm about 5 minutes away from the road, I'm going to give a taxi company a call and say, come get me. Because you can walk into Interleithen, but after today, I don't think I'm going to have anything left in the tank. Moving on. I believe that little village in the distance is Interleithen. Closing in. After more than 22 miles, made it to the road. Got a call into my B&B that I'm going to stay in Interleithen, and they're coming to get me. So I don't have to walk the other 2 miles into town, which would have been pretty not fun.